Hey everyone, welcome to the Not a Lonely Coffee Break podcast. We are your hosts, Maddie.
And I'm Meaghan. We're a podcast about coffee and work, but make it queer. Last episode, we talked about a letter, our first letter from a teacher talking about their workplace situation. And
Oh,
the
it was awful.
issues, it was awful. So if you haven't listened to it, please go give it a listen. But
Uh-huh.
quick recap, essentially, teachers have a lot of restrictions when it comes to affirming gender identity or sexuality for the students. Even if they say, hey, this is what I prefer, the teachers legally can't do anything about it,
Uh-huh.
which is obviously extremely
Uh-huh.
dangerous for queer students. But then it also created like a really toxic workplace. So it's hitting not just the students, but the workplace for teachers, where you have
Uh-huh.
allies and then you have those who are extremely conservative and don't agree with it openly,
Uh-huh.
and say inappropriate things. So a student was correcting a teacher on their gender preference in their name. Teacher's like angry and says, no, you're going to go by this. And the students rally for that student and they're like,
Uh-huh.
actually, no, this is who they are, teacher. And
Yeah.
this is what we're going to do. So the teachers were unsure how to go about it. And one of their colleagues, other teacher,
Went on a tirade about inappropriate things
very
that should
inappropriate.
not be discussed about students.
So, in response to that letter, we thought it
Uh-huh.
would be appropriate that we bring on a parent who actually has some lived experiences of being a
Uh-huh.
parent to a trans child, a trans youth. We are so excited to have on Mandy Giles, who is the founder and CEO of Parents of Trans Youth.
Welcome, Mandy. We're so excited to have you to the show. We have been dying to have you on as a guest for a while now. So we're so grateful that the stars aligned and you jumped in to chat with us today. I guess to start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the organization that you spearhead?
Sure. Thank you for having me. So, yes, I am Mandy Giles. My pronouns are she, her. I am the parent of three kiddos, two of whom are non binary young adults. And they are both 23. And I am the founder and CEO of Parents of Trans Youth, which is a social impact business that provides learning, support, and community to parents and caregivers of transgender, non binary, and gender expansive kids and young adults. So we have all sorts of programs. We've got an online membership community. That's our newest program for parents that's rocking and rolling.
Uh-huh.
We have peer support, online course, all sorts of things. And I started the business about 4 years ago because I saw a gap in services, not only in Houston, where I'm from, but
Uh-huh.
in Texas, but also nationally. And I wanted to build the resource that I wish I had when my kids first came out to us as transgender. So I did a lot of, I guess, market research, just seeing what resources were out there, what the gaps were, and also talking to a lot of other parents of trans kids, seeing what
Right.
they were looking for, what they needed, and also a lot of transgender adults to know where my voice
Hmm.
as an ally, as a parent ally, fit kind of
I love
within that
that.
ecosystem.
I can't imagine how difficult it might be for a parent to really, to face that. And then also trying to find resources so that they can support and give the love to their child. When parents first reach out to your organization, what are the most common questions that they have?
Oh gosh, let's see. Right now, most parents want to
Yeah.
know how their kids can be
Hmm.
safe, how to keep their kids safe, whether uh, any age. I mean, I
Hmm.
work with parents with kids as young as 4 years old to 24, or even older. And I think that the fears for their safety and the worries for their safety, depending on kind of where the parent is in their kind of
Hmm.
acceptance of what's going on, maybe what their background is, that can come across as either, okay, who do I need to talk to at my kid's school? What are the laws in my community? And da da da. Or it could be, I don't want them to go out into the world as themselves because I'm scared for their safety. It's from that deep love of their child and just that fear for them. So that's a big one. Parents are asking where they can get gender affirming medical care for their kids because so many states there are bans, and with kind of confusing directives and policies, and with clinics across the nation opening, closing, pausing, it's just hard to navigate that landscape. That is too much for me to keep track of all that. And so I kind of consider myself a curator of resources and can point parents to other organizations that have kind of their finger on the pulse of what's going on and do that very, very well. And so I can refer them to those kind of resources to help them navigate that. Um, a lot of parents want to know, how can I get support? How can I be supported in my emotional roller coaster? And so we provide a lot of that at Parents of Trans Youth.
I sometimes facilitate a group in the DFW area that is for parents of gender diverse kiddos. And that's kind of a thing that comes up a lot is they sign up for the group because they're like, yes, I want some information about what's going on with my youth. But really it turns into a support group of that emotional journey and a place for them to acknowledge that it's okay for them to have confusing feelings about what's happening. So in lines of this, making sure we support trans and gender diverse children, what does that look like? You have that perspective of being a parent as well as an advocate and connector to resources. So what does that look like, I guess, in just everyday life?
One parent in a support group made a beautiful analogy and said that their kid was the CEO of their gender identity and their gender journey, whatever that might look like. And the parent is the administrative assistant or the executive assistant. So the kid might be the strategist and be like, okay, these are my goals. This is what I want my life to look like. And then the parents kind of behind the scenes most of the time and making the appointments and doing the things. So what that would look like in real life would be, depending on the age of the child, talking to the school and say, okay, this is what my kid would like to see here, and this is the bathroom they need to use. This is what they'd like to be called, whatever.
I know.
Depending on the laws in your state and all that kind of stuff. It might be taking listening to your child and to what they need and what they want. So it could be take them to get a new haircut. It could be taking them clothes shopping and letting them go to whatever department they want to, whatever that is labeled. It could mean respecting their wishes about names and pronouns that they want you to use, and then following through on that and knowing and asking them where it's okay to use those names and pronouns. Maybe it's not okay to tell grandma yet. And you've got to respect that. Or maybe they don't want to be out at school yet. Okay, that's fine. Then there's a lot of toggling that goes on
That's so
for
important.
families a lot.
It merges a little bit of that safety though that I think you mentioned your parents are reaching out about. And I think right now, I love the analogy CEO and administrative assistant, but I think that administrative assistant also sometimes is helping that child maybe identify what they want by asking them very intentional questions that child may not realize they need to talk about already, but because laws are ever changing and focused on certain things, we have to make sure that we understand exactly what our child is wanting. That child may just be like, all I want right now, I'm still kind of figuring it out. I just want to wear different clothes. They may not be ready to say like, I am ready to chop off my hair or grow my hair or wear a binder or any of this other stuff. And that parent might just be so like, I'm ready to support. I'm ready to support. What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? So yes, letting your child call the shots a little bit, but also helping steer that conversation so we can also ensure your safety.
Sure. Yes. Some parents are super excited to go down a checklist and think like, okay, this is what we're going to do. So what do you want your name to be? Let's go get that haircut. Let's get new clothes. And maybe the kid is like,
Mhm.
I
Well,
just I don't know. And so that's where, yes, that listening, asking open questions, not
Mhm.
necessarily like, leading questions, like, well,
Yeah.
don't you want a binder? Like, if you want to look
mm,
this way, wouldn't you want this? But also letting them know, like, if they're expressing a need or a want, then having that information to say, like, well, you know what, a
Mhm.
binder might be what you're looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
So let's
No,
check
I
that
think
out
it's
together.
important.
Something like that.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I really love that you said that because, I mean, it's a journey for them, right? Their
Hmm.
self-identity. And I think that a lot of people don't realize, like, we go through, like, everybody goes through that journey. It doesn't matter if
Mhm.
they're queer, cis, gender, whatever it might
Hmm.
be. We're all going through this journey and we all go it in our own time. So I really love that you said that, like, because it's really easy, I think, and I think parents do. I'm not a parent for the record, but my experience being a child,
Yep.
I have seen, we see our parents, wanting to push
Mhm.
their dreams and visions on you, right? And so
Hmm.
I really love that, there are a lot of parents who want to just go with the role with their kid, but schools are changing that for us, right? Like kids are having so much time at schools. You're doing all this progress at home
Hmm.
to meet the child's needs. And maybe that child, like you said, doesn't, they're going in their own pace. But the school is insinuating that they're already like
They've already had the
transitioned
surgery.
completely, that they're already like they
Oh,
have this
Yes.
whole like business plan of how they're going to do this transition,
Mhm.
but they're just children at the end of the day,
right,
right? And so,
right.
as a parent of, a youth in Texas, what has
Hmm.
navigating the school system really been like? And what have you heard from other families?
Sure. Yeah,
Right.
that's $1 million question right now. So right now in Texas, it's a choppy landscape for making sure that our kids
Mhm.
are supported and seen and can be
Mhm.
themselves, both at home, school, wherever out in the world. There are several laws going on right now in Texas that make that very difficult, not the least of which is SB 12, which
Mhm.
has a lot of different parts about it. It's parts of it are being challenged right now. Some good things happening in the courts. And one of the most egregious, I guess, parts of it is talks about the use of kids' names and pronouns. And the law is a little vague on purpose because it's poorly written and it's a shitty law. And
It is no,
so
it's a shitty law for
okay.
all sorts of reasons.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot. I mean, again, this could be, yeah, a 3-hour long podcast just on that law.
Just
But I
on
won't
that
do that.
law.
I won't do that to you. So this part of it, and so it leaves a lot open to
Mhm.
interpretation. And so that is on interpretation on the state level, on the district level, and then even the school level.
Mhm.
So for instance, and I have permission to share this, my kiddo, one of my kiddos is 23 and works in a public school in Texas. And in elementary school. And their particular school is pretty cool, pretty with it, and is not complying preemptively
Mhm.
with what they think the law might be. Whereas some other schools and other districts might be taking that law a little further.
Mhm.
So, like for instance, well, it's so it's so hard because it's very confusing to everybody. And
And
so yeah,
a lot
go
of
ahead.
laws, and I think a lot of our listeners might even know this already. A lot of laws, whether they're good or bad, where they do often struggle is at the implementation of that law. And
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
always open to interpretation. So you have some that are like, well, we're still technically in accordance with the law. And then some that are like, we're going to overshoot
Mhm.
on how we interpret that law. And so, yeah, this one in particular has really changed that already
Mhm.
existing terrible thing that happens with laws because we're seeing such a wide range of how people are implementing it.
Sure. So, yeah, so there's that law, and then there's
Mhm.
also the law that defines sex, defines men and women. And so then you get into that, and that gets into bathroom stuff. And there's also a law about that. And so then that also is, affects um, birth certificates and names and genders that are all put into school systems. And so, and believe me, this is all coordinated. This is not all coincidence that this is all together. But like, for instance, my kid was telling me about a colleague of theirs who worked in a different school district who said that in the other school district, a kid told them that they were using a different name and pronouns. And so that teacher got guidance that they had to send the child to a meeting with the school counselor, and the family was notified. And then the whole faculty had to have an hour-long meeting about what to do in this situation. And so basically, this and what the danger is with this whole situation is that the child was outed to the parents.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's hard to know what that child's home situation is. One of the recent stats from the Trevor Project is that only 1 in 3 kids have their identities affirmed at home. So you've got a 66% chance of that kid having a miserable home life or worse because you told them that they want to use different pronouns. Or maybe another parent gets wind of from their kid about like, oh, so and so is now using different pronouns in school. So then that parent might be calling up the principal and be like, this law is blah, 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 and you need to do this. And then maybe that kid or that parent or the kid's parent sues the school district, the school, the teacher, the principal. And so it's just a mess.
So, Mandy, you bring up excellent points, and you're absolutely right. All of this is by design. It's also further tying the hands of our educators. Previously, we were telling students, like, your teachers are safe people. Like, you can talk to them, you can go to them if you need help with something. Even school counselors, like, you can go to them if you need help with something. They are safe people for you to have. But now we have teachers and other kinds of people within the education system who consider themselves allies or want to be allies to those students, but aren't necessarily sure how to do that. Meaghan and I actually received a letter that we talked about in our last episode from an elementary school teacher who is in a more conservative school. I don't know necessarily if the district is, but this teacher shared that their school was conservative and that they were having some dialogue amongst themselves about a student that seems to be identifying as trans. I know you told us before we jumped on that you had listened to that episode and kind of heard the teacher's concerns. I'm curious, what kind of tips do you have for those educators out there who are fully aware of this law and they are just trying to balance, how do I be a safe person still for my students while also not losing my job because I'm trying to make sure that I walk that fine line of whatever the law is.
Sure. And it's an awful situation for those educators to be in. One thing that teachers and staff can do is kind of subtly signal support. They're, again, depending on how the schools or the districts implement these laws, most of the time they can't put, like, say, this is a safe space, stickers or whatever, like, all are welcome here, which is so dumb. Like, oh, that's a terrible message to send our kids.
Right.
But where things get a little fuzzy are when it comes to personal items. So, like, for instance, I was talking to my kid and they're able to wear rainbow stuff on their lanyard, or they had a shirt that said something about, actually, I said something about pride and had a rainbow on it because had to do with like their college day or something like that. And that was okay. And actually, my kid asked permission, or not necessarily permission, asked what the guidance was on that.
It was like a campus, like a college pride shirt.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like the only college shirt that my kid had. And I was like, well, can I wear it? And so they actually asked if that was okay. And their administrator said yes. And who knows, maybe at another school that would not have been okay. But it wasn't theirs, which was pretty cool. And then Another example was my kids saw a student with some like little homemade bracelet that was clearly in the colors of the non-binary flag. And it's my kid, the only thing they could really say was, "Hey, I like your bracelet." And they couldn't be like, because that means that you
Yeah.
must be non-binary. I'm
Mhm.
non-binary too.
Mhm.
That is where the law is like, is so dumb considering like promoting gender ideology or transition or whatever, which of course
Mhm.
is, we know it's not, but just kind of almost like a little wink, like, "Hey, I
Yeah.
got you. I see you.
Mhm.
Cool bracelet." And that is a way you can make sure that your students feel seen in who they are and who their identities, just in those subtle ways. Or if you can kind of get away with having some kind of sticker on your personal water bottle, your phone case, jewelry, if you wear it,
Mhm.
those personal items are kind of where you might be able to signal some support to your
Mhm.
LGBTQ students that
Mhm.
might be out or not out,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and to signal that you are a safe person.
No, I think that's really great advice because I think you're right. Like, in order for them to tell teachers and educators that they can't wear those rainbow earrings means that there's going to have to be a law now that censors what people wear.
Probably.
Uh, but I was also thinking, do you have any other kinds of tips, suggestions for people, teachers and school staff? Just thinking about the letter and this teacher that was really feeling stuck, where because even the personal items, at least in this situation, that kind of sounds like something that this coworker would then come after them. Like, you're indoctrinating the children. So
Mhm.
I guess, do you have any other tips on how this teacher could show this student support
Gosh,
and
that whole
allyship?
situation was
It's a mess.
really, really difficult. Well, first of all, the conversation that the faculty members were having about this child's identity
Mhm,
seemed incredibly inappropriate just in general. And I'm not
mhm,
being an educator myself, I don't know where that line is, but I would guess just talking about just discussing a child's gender or sex or supposed
yeah,
sexuality in that way
yeah,
would be a violation of privacy, and in an incredibly crass
mhm,
sexualized manner.
Mhm.
I would feel violated if I had to
mhm,
listen to that conversation. And again, I don't know where the lines are, if that's something like, say, as an
mhm.
employee, that I would say I feel harassed and could
Ooh,
you know
we didn't even
Yeah.
consider
yep,
that
I
yep,
mean, yeah,
that
technically.
that is
because we felt
gross.
uncomfortable reading it. Like, these are
Yeah.
elementary school
Yeah.
students.
Yeah, if that and if I remember correctly, it was, like, over their lunchtime or something, or maybe not even
Mhm,
around students. If it was around students, that's even worse.
Mhm.
But,
mhm,
in so many ways, I don't know if there would be a way to anonymously report this
mm,
inappropriate behavior of violating a child's privacy and
mhm.
being subjected to sexual
Inappropriate
conversation.
conversations in the
Mhm.
workplace.
If I were in that situation and just hearing kinda this dilemma that this teacher was in, I would be afraid of being targeted by that other
Mhm,
teacher or being stuck in a hostile work environment because you
Mhm.
reported
yeah,
another teacher. So if there was a way to do that anonymously or being guaranteed anonymity,
mhm,
maybe that could
mhm,
be a possibility. Under this law, I know for a fact it is okay for students to use a student's appropriate name and pronouns. So that's actually a really good solution,
mhm,
and I know that parents have told their kids that, like, say, like, "Okay, your teacher is not calling you by your correct name, by your chosen name, but tell you what, you can tell everybody in your class, like, call me
mhm,
whatever." So that's cool. And so I think that the solution that the teacher came up with to
mhm,
use a last name or just that child's name can work for
mhm,
that,
mhm.
to just kinda be out of that mess altogether,
Yeah.
which again is just hate that this is happening.
It's awful. I do like that loophole, though. I didn't realize, I mean, I guess now that you've said it, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that loophole is there around how they can't dictate what the other students
Mhm.
are
Mhm.
calling this person."
Mhm.
Right.
The educator just can't perpetrate that
Right.
name or pronoun use. So that's a fun little loophole there.
And that was something that happened in that
Yeah.
student's class, is
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
students rallied around that person and was like,
Mhm.
"No, why are you doing that? Like, this is who they are." And
Yeah.
so I mean, that's beautiful in my you
We
know,
loved it.
I was like,
Yeah.
"Thank you, students."
Yeah.
Yes,
I
and,
wish
like,
I had friends like that. No.
Mhm,
that's
mhm.
what gives me hope
Mhm.
for, like, yes, all this awful crap that's going on and, like, the laws and the policies and this vigilante culture, but yet that beautiful, spontaneous act of their peers supporting them
Mhm.
and just saying, "No, this is who he is." That's what gives me hope. The
Yeah.
kids get it, and so we just need to wait till all these jerks who are
Say it.
making these laws,
Are
um
dead.
No.
yeah, I was gonna say fade away, but that's okay too. And
Good one.
so just that they go away in whatever form that is. Um, I mean, just the kids were all right, man. I mean,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what keeps me going. Um,
Mhm.
Mhm.
this hellish landscape and just knowing that the kids know
Mhm.
themselves.
Mhm.
Most of the time, they have respect for each other. Most of the time,
Most of the
they
time.
understand about and just they don't have to understand everything, but they respect each
Mhm.
and what a lesson for all of us.
I
Um,
know.
Mhm.
might not understand what being transgender means, being
Mhm.
non-binary means. Why does someone need to choose a new name? You may not understand all that, but you can
Mhm.
respect it, and
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
especially your loved one in your life.
Yes, that's a good note, because I'm like,
Mhm.
I have really felt that there's power in numbers.
Mhm,
There's power in people, and
mhm,
I feel that especially when queer folk and allies get together in spaces and things like that, you definitely see the power and safety that they have together, because it is frightening out there. I mean, straight
Mhm.
up, it's scary. Like, you're not sure,
Mhm.
should I go out tonight with my friends? And is that something I'm going to have to deal with? Like,
Mhm.
either one, individual aggression, like, are they going to come
Mhm.
target me, or is there going to be some sort of mass violence? And so
Right.
the
yeah.
scale is so
Mhm.
large that, hearing little stories about that, like, a classmate's peers are going to stand up for one another, that there
Mhm.
are teachers and parents who do want to see their child grow and, one, still be a teacher because that's their passion, and
Mhm.
create safe spaces for these kids. It, like you said, it does give me some hope, and I'm hoping that, to any listeners listening to that here, y'all aren't alone. I hope that you use resources out there, Mandy's resource, and
Mhm.
seek out help. Because, like, as you're saying this, I'm like,
Mhm.
we need a toolkit, like a teacher
Mhm.
toolkit of how to navigate these waters,
Yeah.
because they are literally crossing their hands and feet and hoping that they
Mhm.
get these kids through the school year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough. And one thing I know Megan and I talked about this on the last episode is just like schools operate in they're like their own separate
Solar
system.
system.
So
Yeah.
like so like we talk about workplace stuff, but educational workplaces they are their own beast
They're scary.
Yes, I
and
can
have
only
their
imagine.
own set of rules that they follow.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But to kind of help, I guess, wrap us up a little bit, do you have any resources that you would recommend to families who are at any, in the beginning of this journey, the middle of this journey, they've been in this journey for a hot minute? What are some resources that you have found are really helpful to families?
Sure. Well, I'll have to say parents of trans youth.
Of
I would be
course.
remiss in not naming my own resources. What I think we do well is meet parents where they are, and
Mhm,
whether they're at the beginning of that journey, we've got resources for them, or parents are like on board, let's get this train rolling. We've got resources for them as well.
mhm,
PFLAG is another incredible resource. There are in person support groups of
mhm,
all over the country. I can't
mhm.
remember how many chapters there are in Texas, but a whole lot. Um, and
We do
also,
have a
yeah,
PFLAG Dallas, if any
great,
listeners are
great.
wondering, and I know they offer virtual and in-person support groups.
Yeah, a lot of the chapters do. I know there, and more are popping up every time. I think there's one in Fort Worth that's
Mhm.
big one. San Antonio, Houston, Georgetown, San Marcos. Austin, all over the place. That's a really, really good one. Also, PFLAG National has very good publications, short publications, like little pamphlets on their website that are really good if you're just starting out and to give to family members who also might need a little bit of education.
Mhm.
All sorts of things from grandparent resources, military families, stuff about religion, all sorts of things. Another good one is Campaign for Southern Equality. They are a wonderful resource. They have a trans youth emergency project helping
Mm.
families navigate the landscape of finding healthcare for their kids. They do that very, very well. And I refer people to them all the time.
Mhm, mhm,
And then for advocacy, legal, civil rights kind of questions, my go tos are Equality Texas, ACLU of Texas, Transgender Education Network of Texas, Lambda Legal, the list goes on.
mhm,
Those are
mhm,
my
mhm.
resources when I need to find out, okay, what is this law really saying? What is this
Yeah.
policy or opinion or whatever really saying? Those are my trusted resources.
Mhm, I think that's so fantastic. Mandy, any final words of wisdom you want to leave
Inspiration. Ah,
our our allies, our parents, whoever they might be in our community?
Well, first of all, thank you for highlighting this subject and digging deep. It's a complicated one, and it shouldn't be. So I'm glad
yeah.
that we're talking about it. Thank you, and thank you for having me on. Uh, I would say for parents and for allies and people wanting to learn more, trans kids because they know who they are. They are the experts of their gender, and that can be something hard to recognize or accept, especially maybe if you're from an older generation and this is all new to you. Just know that the kids, believe it or not, they know who they are. They really, really do. And support is absolutely crucial. It is literally life saving, their physical life, their emotional, mental states. And that can happen in the home and it can happen in school and anywhere else.
Thank you so much for everything you do.
Mhm.
I think at this time, I think that this is a pivotal moment, especially for our resources and for the people that do the hard work, because there's so much fear and tied around it and uncertainty that you're still sticking around. And if anything, you're shining
Mhm.
and you're doing so much. So I really thank you again. And I appreciate you. Definitely. I hope that teacher is listening and I hope that
Mhm.
other allies and teachers got
Yeah,
some good words of wisdom because I
yeah.
definitely did.
No, for sure. It was
Mhm.
fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mandy. We are going to make sure we tag Mandy in social media so that way you can make sure you're connected with parents of trans youth. And if you are looking for resources as a parent, you know where to go to first because we need community. I think that was the big takeaway I got out of our
Hmm.
conversation today was the importance of all of us standing strong and not being afraid to share our experiences and resources with one another. So, thank you, Mandy, for your words of wisdom and tips that we can hopefully use to empower us to continue the marathon that we are in.
Well, you are very welcome. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, thank you. Megan, that was such a great chat with Mandy. I'm so
It
grateful
really
she
was.
jumped in and was ready to chat with us.
Yes, it's honestly so refreshing to have a perspective of a parent of queer youth who
Mhm.
is like, hey, it's not that complicated. Like,
Right.
love your child, accept who they are, but of course it's more nuanced than that. But essentially, like, all the restrictions that they keep putting in these schools are just making it more
Mhm.
difficult. It's not fixing anything, it's not serving any purpose other than to like create conflict at this
Mhm.
point. So
Mhm.
yeah, and so it was definitely for me relieving to hear her point of view and just knowing out there there are parents who love their queer children.
Yeah, yeah, and they're also just doing what they can to keep their child
Yeah.
safe.
Mm.
So I think, yeah, she gave us some really great tips, some resources to check out. Megan and I are big fans of mental health, so we're still trying to figure out exactly what we wanna do, but we know that we will be doing something special for Mental Health Awareness Month because we need to celebrate mental wellness. And I think now also more than ever, we want to make sure that you all as our listeners know that if you need help, help is out there.
It's out
So
there.
get ready. Make sure you are tuning in upcoming episodes because we will be sharing as we identify information. We'll be sharing out some things that we will have going on to celebrate Mental Health Awareness Month.
But
But
now I
yes,
am out of coffee.
we are out of coffee, so you guys know that is our cue to wrap up. Make sure that you are listening to the show and subscribing if you have not already.
Also, be sure you're connected with us on our socials and continue the conversation. We love to hear about your questions you have and how you experience navigating the workplace.
Absolutely. And we love connecting with you guys. So you can find us on social media on Instagram, LinkedIn, Patreon, Threads. And of course, you can always check out the show on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. Thanks again for tuning in for another great episode of Not a Lonely Coffee Break. We are your hosts. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Meaghan.
Cheers,
Cheers,
queer.
queer.